when you say you measure the leads, Jamie, is it just the number of leads that you're measuring, or are you measuring the quality as well? And if you are measuring the quality, do you have some kind of criteria? Because I could imagine, I've got a couple of client managers. I can imagine one of them blaming, I shouldn't say it's because it's getting recorded, but I can imagine one of my client managers blaming the quality of the lead if they're unable to convert it, and say, oh, that was a rubbish lead. Like, I don't get good ones. So do you measure both those things? And if you do, how do you measure quality?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I had the same thing. That's a crap lead. That's a terrible lead. So as I said, you've got to qualify what is a good lead. For us, after speaking to Ed about it and the client managers, was someone that was willing to just have a phone appointment or just a Zoom call, for example.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it's very important to respond quickly. While you say, well, they're happy to book an appointment, it can't be in 2 days' time.
Right? You mean the client manager?
That's right.
Yeah.
So whatever your system is, the quicker the lead is booked in for an appointment, the better. There's a lot of research around how long people will wait. So if you get a lead and they say, yeah, look, I'm happy to speak to someone, and the further out you book them in, the less likely they are to turn up, and they'll say, oh, I found another bookkeeper, or I found another accountant. So there's some really good advice in the Wize Vault in the sales section around this. There's actually some statistics on, consumers' expectations on how fast, an inquiry should be replied to. I think it's up to like 80% within the first 2 hours. So it's really important that, coming back to Ed talks about context, is making sure that your teams have capacity. So at the start of each financial year, we do a lot of work with the senior client managers around making sure that they've got capacity in order to take new clients on. We've got one team at the moment. We're still looking for another accountant, and they've just sort of put the pause button on the leads for the moment, and letting the other 3 teams take the leads, because you want to have the ability to service those new leads. So you must create capacity, and that comes back to that capacity planner, and then having the right people on each team. So everything is interrelated, as it always is. But yeah, certainly I love the concept of, you mentioned, Tim, about what do you measure, so things that we measure, and you put me on the spot here because I've got to remember, but, we measure the number of leads per month, the website traffic, also our database growth. So another one, so we measure, we do have a newsletter that's sort of on our website, and the more people we get to subscribe to that, the better. It's quite interesting too. You see the hits to the website, and some months you see like there's a real spike in it, and a particular topic. It's interesting to see that attracts the attention of your database. What else is there? So Google Analytics. Our marketing person has a deep dive into the Google Analytics. So and then just the other really important thing, Tim, to measure is, well, where are the leads coming from? Because you've got PPC, or pay per click, you've got SEO, you've got referrals, you've got all sorts of. So it's very important to measure, well, where are the leads coming from? And even at Wize Mentoring, Brenton gives us a report every week on exactly where the leads are coming from: LinkedIn, Facebook. So you just got to sort of those half a dozen things that you track, and the more sophisticated you get at it, the better. But it takes time. You got to be patient, and once, as the firm owner, once you get more time, you can work on these things, and then keep improving the business and keep growing it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I know you said recently, Ed, that the way you think about accounting firms is tends to be the opposite of like conventional. I don't even know you call it wisdom, but conventional ideas about how to run them. Have you noticed any challenges, I guess, in your own firm, but also in the firms you're mentoring, with thinking about marketing and thinking about leads? Especially the context I've got here is from my own firm, which my parents started. they've never talked about leads before. Even kind of marketing language in general is kind of foreign to them as accountants. And they come from a very old school model, which I'm sure a lot of people have come from, where it is the partner or the founder or the owner who is generating the clients themselves. So just on that note, are there any patterns you see to challenges that accounting owners face with trying to change their mindset and shift to this other kind of building a garden, as you say, that attracts butterflies when they're so used to being the butterfly catcher themselves?
Absolutely. Generally, with most accounting firms, they're very, very busy, and they're struggling to get the work that they've got out in time. So they don't generally spend a lot of time in marketing because they're struggling to get the work done and out the door as it is. And often people say to me, I don't want to grow anymore. And what they're really saying to me is that they don't want the pain that goes with the growth.
Yeah.
Right. But if you get your house in order, if you get the systems right, if you do the things that we teach in Wize, and you get the foundation right, then there's lots of firms that we work with now where, when they first join up, they're just snowed under, and they're behind in their lodgement lists, and they're letting their clients down, and they're worried about, asking for sending out a survey to get feedback, because they're worried about the bad feedback they're going to get, because they're not able to service their clients. So, but once they start working with us and they started getting on top of their workload, the next question then is, okay, we've got that under control now. Now we're ready to grow. Mm-hmm. So I haven't met anyone that doesn't want to grow if there's no pain. What they're really associating growth with is the pain that's associated with growth. But if we can get the house in order, get the foundation right, get the teams right, and we're getting on top of the work, then, I haven't met a firm who hasn't said to me, let's grow if we can grow without any pain. So you got to get, first things first, you've got to get your house in order, then you can then go and market. And generally, the firms that are generally marketing, firms that have got their house in order and they're ready to grow, because you can't put a second story on your business without a strong foundation. So you got to get the foundation right, solid, get that solid first. So then, but that's more the minority of the firms. The majority of the firms I found is just trying to get their house in order. So that's the reason why there's very little accounting time spent in marketing. The other thing is, it's just the accountant's mindset. They see marketing as an expense and not an investment. And obviously they look at their P&L and they don't look at the investment they need to make into their balance sheet. So that's the other thing that holds accounting firms back, is they won't invest into marketing, or they don't see the value, and they're not prepared to make that investment. Mm-hmm. So it's just those two things that generally hold accounting firms back.
Yeah, no, it's really helpful, Ed. I think I hear this from time to time in some of the firms, and this is probably my own experience when I first came to you, was that I really wanted to skip the design and recruit stage and just go straight to the scale stage. And
yes.
It just doesn't work for a whole bunch of reasons. I think you've mentioned a few there. One comment I got from my client managers, because I've got 3 senior client managers and 1 assistant. One comment I got from them when I had a new lead was, "Who wants this one?" And none of them wanted it. They said, "We don't. We've got too much work as it is." So I can see it. Scaling is really the byproduct of getting the first 2 stages of designing and recruiting right. Because if you get those stages right, some of the firms I've worked with on this program, they run out of work and they need more work because they become so efficient in that deeper, narrow team at getting through it. I've started to see the NPS scores, which I've only recently started doing, in a different light. If a team is growing or a team is not growing, it's a comment on how happy the clients are. So it's not, previously I thought NPS scores were about getting referrals and growing. And now I'm realizing they're actually about making sure that your current clients are happy and that they're sticky to you. And you did mention in the beginning there that some firms experience that churn rate. And that was definitely my experience in my firm. We put on them as quickly as we lost them. And if you do that, it's just equal. It doesn't actually end up going up or down.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to say on that, but
absolutely. It's obviously cheaper and easier to keep your clients, and getting a referral from your clients, from existing clients, is not only the cheapest way to do it and the most economical way, but it's an endorsement to the level of service that you're providing. So it's a win-win for everybody if you're getting really good NPS scores, net promoter scores, surveys from them. So that's what we should be focusing on. And I've had firms that have said to me, "Oh, I don't want to send out a survey because I'm worried about what the client's going to say." But in Australia, we shy away from criticism. But like in Japan, they look for that. They want that because they want to find ways of improving. And unless you have a complaint, you don't know what to improve. And we should be in this continuous improvement mode where we want to continuously improve what we do. And we should be hankering for the feedback from the clients. And when you run the team structures the way we do, the senior client manager's role is to grow their portfolio. And the first indicator of whether they're going to grow their portfolio or not is, are their clients happy with them? Are their clients happy with their service? And if not, what can we do to improve that? Because the research shows that if someone's not happy with you, if they let you know and you addressed it very, very quickly, not only do you win them back, but they become an advocate. They'll go out and tell their friends how good you are. And obviously that is the best way to grow your business, is by referrals, because it's not only giving you new clients, but it's an endorsement that you're doing the right things and your clients are happy with you.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Ed. It's slightly off topic in terms of, like, it's not strictly speaking a lead, but there's a lot of blurry lines between all the different kinds of marketing that you can do. And one thing I remember you said to me initially was, Tim, you've got to market better to your existing client base as well. And that was another mindset shift, that your clients might not even know all the services that you currently offer. And marketing's quite wide. It really is.
Yes.